we're just enjoying some refreshments. And today, sadly, Glenn Beck is in Washington at the Lincoln Temple. Tom, you want to start it off? What do you think about Glenn Beck and being up there at the Lincoln Temple?
Well, I think it's kind of ironic that the name of the rally is the Restoring Honor Rally. And they're having it in front of the so-called Lincoln Memorial, which in the very first line of the engraved quote there, it says, "In this temple."
Yeah.
So it's a temple, obviously.
Yeah.
And they're worshiping Lincoln today, and that's just...
It looks like the temple of Zeus, by the way, and he's sitting in the same posture as Zeus did.
And it's kind of the opposite way to go from honor. I mean, Lincoln was a tyrant, and this is, no matter what you think about the war between the states, Lincoln basically suspended the Constitution for the North and the South.
Yeah.
And there's no other way to describe that than total tyranny. And Glenn Beck is not really doing very well by having a Restoring Honor rally there.
Yeah. Eric, what do you think about this?
I don't really have a comment on that.
What do you think about Glenn Beck?
Well, he says a lot of stuff about God, being a Christian and all this.
Yeah, he does.
He's up there at the temple now, so we see what it really is.
Who do you think he's worshiping?
Obviously Lincoln.
Yeah. John, what are your thoughts on the whole thing?
Well, I'm not a Glenn Beck expert by any means, but it just seems to me that, to a certain degree, he's kind of a pressure valve. Pressure is kind of mounting in the country, especially with your middle class, the evaporation of middle class, jobs and liquidity and whatever the case might be. And we see an expression of some of the frustrations that, in Tea Party activism and so forth, and also I think in Glenn Beck, followers to a certain degree, that he allows some of the pressure to come off, without, of course, having the revolution that's really needed, without having the complete overhaul and changeover that's needed. As long as the frustrated voter can tune into Glenn Beck and hear what he thinks he feels. Yeah. And he can.
And he's all about that, his feelings.
Right. That's true enough.
Reminds me of Bill Clinton.
Man is led by his emotions.
Yeah.
And as long as people think when watching Glenn Beck, yeah, that's right, that's me, that's what I feel and think too, and then go out and maybe, join a Tea Party rally once in a blue moon, and you know what, they've struck a blow for change or something in their direction. So I really think that, managed dissent is not dissent.
Yeah.
And Glenn Beck being on Fox News, being part of, one of 5 different conglomerates that run the mainstream media in the United States, he's not going to be a real dissenter. He's not really going to be an object of change. And so, like I said, managed dissent is not real dissent. And Glenn Beck is that to a T, in my opinion. As long as people feel that, he's saying what I feel, well then guess what? I don't have to do anything. Glenn Beck's saying it. I can sit back and I can, expect that something's going to happen in this country.
Yeah.
I would say the good thing about Glenn Beck is that he gives people that outlet of frustration, that he points them in the direction of learning about liberties and these historical figures that had such an influence in forming this country. The bad thing about Glenn Beck is that he spends about 5 minutes actually talking about the facts and about 55 minutes bringing himself to the verge of tears. And it's sickening to watch. I don't really understand how people stand it. I much prefer Judge Napolitano or John Stossel, who give you facts and information and examples.
Yeah.
Judge will give you court cases to look up. I mean, if you want to get information about liberty and freedom, then there's a lot better sources than Glenn Beck. I mean, all he does is hyper-emotionalize everything.
Yeah. Eric, any last thoughts about this whole thing? Today we were out there and you were there, and I have to say that you've been to every one of our 4 secession rallies that we've been to, and here we are advocating real change, and there they are in Washington glorifying the state. Any thoughts on that?
Well, you pretty much summed it up there.
Yeah.
You know, I just, as a final comment, you know, I respectfully disagree. I'd rather there were no outlet for dissent. I'd rather the pressure cooker just reach a crescendo and blew the lid off, and people actually took to the streets to actually make a meaningful difference, rather than, you know, like I said, letting some of that, you know, steam out by watching Glenn Beck here, by, you know, I don't know, contributing $20 to a Tea Party rally there or something of that sort, and then feeling like, you know what, I've taken my country back or whatever. You know, I'm part of the process of taking the country back or whatever the case might be. I'd rather there were none of that.
Yeah.
When there's a complete hold, you know, and cap on dissension, then you know, then it tends to build to a momentous, you know, like I said, crescendo that gets people out into the streets. You can look in the old Soviet Union and any other you know, repressive
Hungary,
regime, you know, Tiananmen Square or whatever, because there was no outlet at all.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that the United States has very cleverly learned from these other totalitarian or repressive societies. That's
a good point.
As long as there's those little, you know, outlets for people's tension and you know, exasperations. The vast majority of them will be content to express their dissent that way, which is ultimately not dissent. It's peaceful, it's non-meaningful, it's non-changing, and so forth. Non-change-inducing or whatever. So to me, the very fact that Glenn Beck is in the mainstream media, is on a media mogul's, you know, program, and is given all of that free time to supposedly rail against the machine or whatever.
To promote his books.
or leads me to believe that, you know, how real is it? You know, is it staged dissent? Certainly it's managed. Certainly he's never going to get on there and say certain things that really need to be said. I absolutely agree. Do you think we're coming to a point, and I'll open this up to everybody, do you think we're coming to a point where we can get real dissent, where we're going to get real dissent, where this is actually going to lead to substantial change, to real change that we can believe in?
I think it's kind of imminent in the financial collapse of the United States. I think as the federal government starts to fail at more and more things, which they've already done. They failed at immigration. They failed with the whole BP catastrophe. They failed at so many things. As they start to fail at more and more things, like housing, for example, the riot they had in Atlanta.
Education.
I think that's been failing for a long time. But I think as they begin to fail at more and more things, people are going to start taking matters into their own hands. And what we're trying to promote is the peaceful process of becoming independent and taking responsibility for ourselves, as opposed to the violent and abrupt process of financial collapse. Well,
just to, I think that's important points that y'all have made. Tom, I noticed that you're wearing our shirts that we have here.
Let me stand up and...
let's take a look at this.
So I've got the...
nice. Independence with the symbol of South Carolina. Let's look at the front.
It just has the URL to the site.
Right, okay. And how can, if folks want to get one of these, how can they get one of these shirts?
Just go to the webpage and click on the link for t-shirts.
Actually, it's merchandise, isn't it? At the top left?
I forget. There's, you know, it's a Google checkout button, and it's pretty easy.
Okay. How much will that run people?
$15 plus shipping.
All right. So it's a great shirt. Check it out. Support the cause. Liberty Independence. Appreciate y'all.
The sound